You're basically my practice husband. I'll know what I want when I find better, she told me when I proposed, so I closed the ring box and walked out. Now she's divorced, broke, and I barely remember she exists. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. I used to think my marriage was solid. Not perfect, sure, but steady in a way I thought most people would envy. I worked a stable job, I kept the bills paid on time, I cooked dinner a few nights a week, and I did my best to be present when my wife, Jenna, wanted to talk about her day. We'd been married for 4 years, together for almost 6. I thought of myself as a loyal husband. I never looked twice at anyone else. I made compromises when she asked, and I even turned down a job offer in another city so she could finish her graduate program here. At the time, she told me I was so dependable, the rock she could lean on. I wore that like a badge of honor. Over time, though, dependable started to sound less like a compliment and more like an insult. Little things crept in. I'd suggest a weekend trip, and she'd sigh and say, "That sounds fine, I guess. You're not exactly the adventurous type." If I bought tickets to a comedy show, she'd roll her eyes. "You know I like more upscale stuff than that." She started making these small digs about my career too. I work in IT, not flashy, not a CEO job, but I make good money, and I've always been proud that we've never had to stress about bills. But she'd say things like, "You're so lucky you don't care about ambition the way I do. Must be nice just being satisfied with average." I brushed it off for a long time. I told myself she was stressed from school or just tired. I wanted to believe she still respected me. But over the last few months, something changed. She was glued to her phone at night. I'd come into the room and she'd tilt the screen away, then say, "Just tick-tock, relax." Our conversations got shorter, colder. Even when we sat together on the couch, I felt like I was miles away from her. One night, I tried to bridge the gap. I came home with takeout from her favorite Thai place and a bottle of wine. She barely looked up from her phone. "Hey," I said, setting the food down. "Thought I'd surprise you. Figured we could eat and maybe watch something together, like old times." She didn't smile. I already ate with a friend after class. I tried not to let the sting show. "Oh, okay. Maybe later then." "Maybe," she muttered, eyes still on her screen. That night, lying next to her, I stared at the ceiling and wondered when I'd become invisible in my own marriage. It all came to a head about a week later. She was in the kitchen, typing furiously on her laptop, and I just couldn't take the distance anymore. "Jenna," I said, keeping my voice even. "What's going on with us? You've been distant. I feel like you don't even see me anymore." She groaned and rubbed her forehead. "Not this again." "I'm serious," I said. "I don't want to fight. I just want to know what's happening. Did I do something? Did I miss something? Because I feel like I'm losing you." That's when she laughed. Not a nervous laugh, a sharp, dismissive laugh that cut me straight to the bone. "You really don't get it, do you?" she said. "Get what?" She slammed the laptop shut and looked at me like I was some slow child who couldn't keep up. "You're basically my practice husband. That's what this is. Practice. I'll know what I want when I find better." For a second, I thought I'd misheard. My chest went tight, and I swear the whole room tilted. "What did you just say?" Her tone didn't waver. "You're a good guy, sure, but you're safe. Predictable. You're what women settle for when they're figuring things out. I don't know if you're really it for me. You're just practice." I just stood there, frozen. Inside, everything in me wanted to explode. To shout, to throw something, to demand how she could say that after everything I'd given her. But instead, I just stared at her. My jaw clenched, my stomach dropped, but I didn't give her the satisfaction of seeing me lose control. She rolled her eyes at my silence and reopened her laptop like the conversation was already over. That was the moment something broke in me. Not in the dramatic way people think of when they picture a marriage ending. Not with anger or yelling, but with quiet clarity. I walked out of the kitchen, sat in the living room alone, and realized she had just told me exactly who she was. And I was done pretending not to hear it. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling while Jenna scrolled on her phone beside me until she finally drifted off. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard her words again. Practice husband. It wasn't just cruel. It was the truth leaking out, the kind of thing you only say when you've already convinced yourself of it. By morning, I knew what I had to do. I got up earlier than usual, showered, dressed, and left for work without saying much. On my way in, I called a lawyer I knew through a mutual friend. By lunch, I'd already scheduled a consultation. By the time I drove home, I had paperwork in my hand. I don't know if Jenna even noticed my silence. She spent most of the evening in the bedroom with her laptop, typing away, while I sat in the living room with the papers on my lap. My chest was tight, but I felt a strange calm. The next morning, I put them in front of her on the kitchen counter. "What's this?" she asked, frowning down at the folder. "Divorce papers," I said. My voice was steady. Her head snapped up. "You're kidding." "No," I said. Her laugh was sharp, nervous. "You can't be serious." Over one argument. I looked her dead in the eye. "You didn't call me your practice husband by accident. You meant it." Her expression shifted, her bravado cracking for a moment. I was angry. People say things they don't mean. "No," I said. "People say things they wouldn't normally admit when they're angry. And you admitted everything." She crossed her arms, trying to regain control. "You're being dramatic. Every couple fights. You think throwing away a marriage over one slip-up is reasonable." I stayed quiet for a moment, watching her squirm. "Couples fight," I said finally. "But couples don't call each other disposable placeholders. You showed me exactly how little I mean to you. I'm not going to stick around and wait for you to find better." Her mouth tightened. "So that's it. You're just giving up." I almost laughed at the irony. "No, Jenna. You gave up. I'm just listening." Her voice rose. "You're just doing this to punish me. You want me to beg, is that it? You think you're teaching me some lesson?" I shook my head. "I'm not interested in punishing you. I'm interested in moving on." She slammed her hand against the counter. "You're unbelievable. After everything I've put into this marriage, you're walking away like it's nothing." I looked at the papers between us. "You said it yourself. To you, this marriage is nothing. Practice. So let's stop pretending." For the first time since I'd known her, Jenna didn't have a quick comeback. She just stared at me, her mouth opening and closing. I picked up my jacket, slung it over my shoulder, and headed for the door. Behind me, her voice cracked. "You're making a mistake." I paused at the doorway, turned back once, and said, "No. For the first time in years, I'm not." Then I left. The next week was a blur of logistics. Meetings with the lawyer, splitting accounts, canceling the joint credit card. I moved into a short-term rental while I looked for a new place. I thought Jenna would fight me on everything, but at first, she barely responded. It was almost like she didn't believe I'd actually follow through. She didn't even sign the papers right away. Instead, she'd send me random texts like, "We need to talk," or "This is stupid, just come home and we'll figure it out." I didn't answer. Finally, a few days later, she called. I let it go to voicemail, but her message was long enough that I ended up listening. "You're really going to do this? Over something I said when I was upset? You know me better than that." I was stressed. I was venting. I didn't mean it. "You're my husband. You're supposed to fight for us, not just run the second things get hard. This isn't you. You're not cold like this." Her words made me tighten my grip on the phone. Once I would have believed her. Once I would have bought into the idea that it was my job to fight for her no matter how little she respected me. But not anymore. I hit delete. For the first time in years, the silence felt peaceful. And for the first time since she'd said those words, I started to feel free. The papers went through faster than I expected. I signed everything, filed what I needed, and started building a new routine. The strangest part was how quiet life became. No more passive-aggressive comments about what I cooked. No more cold silences over nothing. No more tension hanging in the air. Just me, my own place, and peace. I thought Jenna might show some regret, or at least fight for something. But instead, she went the other way. Within a couple of weeks, she was posting on Instagram like she'd just been released from prison. Selfies at bars with captions like, "Finally living my life again, woman dancing." Pictures of expensive dinners with a man whose arm was conveniently cropped out, though his watch and suit sleeve gave him away. A friend of mine, Derek, who still followed her, texted me one night, "Bro, you seen this?" with a screenshot of her at some rooftop bar, clinking glasses with a guy I didn't recognize. I hadn't seen it. I'd unfollowed her the day I filed for divorce. I didn't want to know, but curiosity got the better of me. I pulled up her profile. There it was, post after post, like a highlight reel of her new life. New hair, new outfits, new restaurants, new man. She hadn't posted me in months before that, but suddenly she was documenting everything. It didn't hurt as much as I thought it would. Honestly, it just confirmed what I already knew. I'd been nothing but a placeholder, someone to pay the bills until she found a man she thought was better. So I stopped checking. Instead, I put my energy into myself. I picked up running again, something I hadn't done in years. I reconnected with friends I'd let drift during the marriage. I even signed up for a few evening classes. Nothing major, just something to keep my mind busy and meet new people. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was living for myself, not trying to measure up to someone else's ever-changing expectations. A couple of months later, Derek called me again. "Man, you're not going to believe this," he said. I was in the middle of cooking dinner. "What? You remember that guy Jenna's been flaunting? The one with the stupid Rolex?" "Not really," I said, though I knew exactly who he meant. "Yeah, well, he dumped her. Apparently, he's engaged. To someone else." I blinked. "Wait, engaged?" "Yup. Whole time he was stringing her along. He had a fiancée. Guess she found out and blew up on him at the bar last weekend. Someone told me she threw a drink in his face." Derek chuckled. "Honestly, it's kind of poetic." I leaned against the counter, absorbing that. Poetic, yes. Predictable, absolutely. I didn't gloat, didn't text her, didn't feel the urge to rub it in. All I felt was relief. Because this wasn't my mess anymore. But it didn't end there. The Instagram posts dried up almost overnight. No more rooftop dinners, no more champagne selfies. Instead, her stories turned into vague quotes like, "Some people aren't who they pretend to be," and "Never trust a man who says you're the only one." Mutual friends started telling me she was struggling. The same people who defended her before. "She's just figuring herself out. Give her time." Suddenly weren't on her side anymore. One friend admitted, "She's been kind of unbearable, man. Like, she thought she upgraded, and now she's just bitter all the time." I kept my mouth shut. But then the texts started. At first, they were casual. "Hey stranger, how are you?" I ignored them. Then they got more direct. "I miss you. Can we talk?" I made mistakes. I still ignored them. Finally, one night, she called. Against my better judgment, I picked up. "Hello," I said flatly. Her voice cracked. "So that's it? You're just done with me? You're really not even going to try?" I took a breath. "Jenna, you made your choice." I was confused, she said quickly. I didn't mean half the things I said. I was stressed with school, and I felt trapped, and I lashed out. "Don't throw away everything we had." I stayed quiet. "You're just going to throw away years together?" she pressed. "After everything I gave you?" That made me laugh, but without humor. "What you gave me was the truth. You told me I was just practice. That's not something you come back from." She went silent on the other end. Then her tone hardened. "So you're just cold now? Heartless? After all those vows, you're just walking away like I never mattered?" I shook my head, even though she couldn't see it. "You mattered, until you told me I didn't." "And now? Now you don't." I hung up. For a long moment, I just stood there, staring at the phone in my hand. My heart wasn't racing. My hands weren't shaking. I felt calm. Because I finally understood, her downfall wasn't mine to manage. And her absence? That was the best gift she ever gave me. After that phone call, I thought maybe Jenna would finally get the message. But instead, it only escalated. A week later, I got a text. "We should at least have dinner. Closure, you know?" I didn't reply. 2 days after that, "I miss us. Don't you miss me?" "I know you do." Again, nothing. Then came the guilt trips. "You're seriously going to ignore me after everything I sacrificed for you? I put years into us, and you won't even give me 5 minutes of your time." I deleted them without reading to the end. But the more silence I gave her, the more desperate she became. One night, my phone lit up with a string of messages. "Jenna, I can't believe you're acting like this." "Who are you?" "Jenna, you're supposed to fight for me. That's what real men do." "Jenna, you're pathetic. No wonder I wanted more. You never had a backbone." "Jenna, answer me. Now." I put my phone face down and went to bed. The next morning, I woke to a new one. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. Please, let's just talk." It was like watching a pendulum swing. Anger, manipulation, pleading, then back to anger. The cycle of someone who realized too late that she'd burned the only bridge she could actually trust. When silence didn't work, she tried a different approach. Mutual friends. One buddy texted me, "Hey, Jenna asked me to talk to you. She says she regrets everything. Maybe give her a chance." I sent back, "Appreciate it, but no. Don't get involved." Another friend messaged, "She won't stop talking about you, man. It's kinda sad." I ignored that one completely. The final straw came one Saturday afternoon when I heard pounding on my apartment door. I opened it to find Jenna standing there, eyes red and puffy, mascara smeared. She looked nothing like the polished, smug woman I'd seen in her new life posts. "Can we talk?" she asked, voice breaking. I stepped outside, keeping the door half closed behind me. "There's nothing left to talk about. Tears spilled over her cheeks. Please. I messed up. I didn't mean what I said. I was scared. I was stupid. You're not practice, you're. I held up a hand. Stop. Her face crumpled. You're really just going to throw me away like garbage? After everything. I kept my voice even. I'm not throwing you away. You did that yourself the moment you decided I was temporary. Her tone shifted, sharp and bitter. So that's it. You think you're better than me now? You think some other woman's going to magically fall into your lap? I shook my head. This isn't about anyone else. This is about me choosing peace over being treated like a backup plan. She opened her mouth to snap back, but I'd already turned to go inside. Her voice cracked as she shouted after me, "You'll regret this." But even as the words echoed down the hallway, I knew I never would. A few months later, I ran into her at a mutual friend's wedding. I hadn't planned on seeing her, but there she was, sitting alone at a table, scrolling on her phone while everyone else danced. When she spotted me, her eyes widened. She stood quickly and walked over, plastering on a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Hey," she said softly, almost like nothing had ever happened. "You look good." I nodded politely. "Thanks." She fidgeted with her clutch. "Can we talk? Just for a minute." I sighed but followed her to the edge of the room, away from the crowd. She took a shaky breath. I wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. I was stupid. I thought I wanted more, but all I found was people who didn't care about me. You were the only one who ever actually loved me. I studied her for a long moment. She looked smaller somehow, worn down. "Jenna," I said finally, "you told me I was practice. Practice is something you throw away when you're done with it. That's how you saw me. And once you say that out loud, there's no going back." Her eyes filled with tears. "But I didn't mean it." "Yes, you did." I cut in. My voice wasn't angry, just steady. "You meant it enough to let it come out. And it showed me exactly where I stood with you. I believed you then. I still believe you now." She shook her head desperately. "But I've changed. I get it now. Please, just give me another chance." I let out a quiet laugh. "Another chance to be someone's warm-up round? No thanks. I'm not practice anymore. I'm done." Her face twisted, shifting from pleading to furious. "You're cold. Heartless. You'll never find someone who puts up with you the way I did." I smiled faintly. "Good. I don't want someone who just puts up with me. I want someone who values me. And that person sure as hell isn't you." For a second, I thought she might slap me. Instead, she turned on her heel and stormed out of the room. I went back to the table, ordered another drink, and watched the bride and groom laugh on the dance floor. And for the first time in a long time, I felt completely free. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.